exchange rate, I think that South Africa has a particular problem that's shared by a number of others of having the good fortune of having lots of resources, but that leads to what's called the natural resource curse of a high exchange rate that leads in many parts of the world to what I call rich countries with poor people. And the phenomena of a high exchange rate, non-competitive exchange rate, means that it's hard to compete and export. Other job-creating sectors compete on imports with job-creating sectors. So it is not uncommon to have high levels of unemployment. And that long-run problem is now been exacerbated by U.S. monetary policy, quantitative easing, and I've been very critical of quantitative easing, partly because the benefits to the United States are very low, given that we haven't really fixed our banking system. So loans to small, medium-sized enterprises are not going to be substantially affected by this. And that's really the source of job creation in most countries, including the United States. And the main mechanism is through the 21st century version of beggar thy neighbor policies of competitive devaluation. And the result of this is that countries all over the world have had to respond, and have responded through a variety of mechanisms: direct intervention, capital controls, unremunerated reserve requirements, taxes, prudential regulations on the banks. There's a whole gamut. It's against modern fashion to talk about control, so the current language is capital account management, and that, to avoid the old language. But the basic point is that countries all over the world are engaging it. Now, it becomes increasingly difficult if everybody else is doing it, we've now gone by a tipping point. All this money that's been unleashed on global financial markets doesn't want to go to the United States, doesn't want to go to Europe, because those are really economies that are not doing very well. So it's going to the economies that are doing well. But most of those are putting up barriers. So what does that mean? If money goes to those countries that are foolish enough not yet to have put up barriers. So it puts more pressure on those. Just in the last few weeks, Chile, which is a center-right government that finds this very unpleasant ideologically, has said, we have no choice. Their choice is I create more unemployment, kill our economy, or let our exchange rate appreciate. And they've chosen to put ideology aside and and intervene through several mechanisms. Even though there's a free trade agreement with America that was intended to circumscribe it, they're willing to actually say, no, it doesn't. I mean, there's some ambiguity, and to say that we have the right to do this. And I think they are right about that. There are all kinds of arguments that people who don't want this to happen use, but I think it's absolutely imperative that one manage the exchange rate in a way that keeps it competitive and stable. And if we learn anything from the crisis, is that markets are not stable and self-correcting, and particularly true in these kinds of prices.